Alrighty then. We are live. Well, this one should be pretty heavy. But it is what it is. Okay, so recently, there has been a kerfluffle in the internet, which I'm assuming we're all going to talk about for a couple seconds, and then we're going to go on to the next thing, as we always do. Stop being so cynical! I don't know, guys. Let's see if I'm being cynical. Okay, what's the situation I am referring to? What am I referring to? Well, you guys see it. It's right there, so there's no mystery. Fellow by the name of Jesse Ridgway. He's a blue check person. I'm assuming he's a fellow creator. Put out the following. This week, I guess in March, he announced that they were preggo. And everybody was happy for them. Apparently, it was a wanted pregnancy. They announced it. It was great. And then we get this notification from Mr. Ridgway. You can see his wife there is very, she's distressed, obviously. Not in a good situation. He says, this week my wife and I made the very difficult decision to terminate the pregnancy due to trisomy 21. Trisomy 21, dear listener, is also known as Down syndrome. Trisomy 21 is known as Down syndrome. The choice was not made lightly. We really appreciate all the personal stories that you guys shared with us, especially the unconditional support we received from fans with no matter what we decided. And apparently, I'm surprised by this, but apparently there's been a backlash against these people and against this creator. Now, as somebody who does this for a living, I know, well, I can't say I know. I don't know, but I know. Why we put stuff like this out. There are things that, especially if this is the primary means by which you make your living, there are certain moments in your life that are absolutely exploitable. When we had our first kid, Orion, and we announced it, people went crazy. Subscriber count went up. Super chats went up. That's when you're doing a live stream. People send you $50, whatever. When you talk about certain kinds of life events as a creator, it's very lucrative sometimes, actually. And then there are other things as a creator that can literally destroy your channel. And you try to avoid that as much as possible. I guarantee you that if this individual understood the kind of feedback that he was going to get, and by extension his wife, he would not have made this announcement. I think he made this announcement with the assumption that people were gonna, oh my God, this is terrible. You made such a brave decision. The pro-life people are evil. You're a hero, whatever. And apparently, the entire world has collapsed on these people, and people are not sympathetic, actually. People are saying that they're selfish. It was a horrible decision. How could you do that? I saw some comments about dude's wife, which was pretty horrible. And I gotta tell y'all, as a person who's been literally at the front lines of the pro-life effort, literally, one of our guys, had to go to court. We had to go to court. We almost went to the Supreme Court. Okay? My kids have been attacked as we've done workout outside the clinic. I personally, or there have been people that work out there that had their lives threatened. There are people out there that got spit in the face. I mean, I saw all these things happen to people. So I could speak about this particular topic. And I got to tell you guys, I am extremely surprised at the response that these people are getting. I'm surprised and I'm confused because I have literally had hundreds of conversations with people, because once people found out that we were pro-life, it's just a matter of course over 7 years, whether it's moderated debates, impromptu discussions, and discussions on the street as we're doing pro-life work. I cannot tell you how many times people told us, what if the kid has Down syndrome? Who are you to tell those parents that they have to be condemned to being the parents of a Down syndrome child? Wifey and I were watching a show, and in this show you meet a stranger in a pod. You can't see their face, so it's like Love is Blind, right? Like literally. And as they're, relating to each other, it comes out pretty late in the process that this woman worked in healthcare, and she said that if she was pregnant and the child had Down syndrome, that she would have an abortion. And the guy was like, whoa, like, wait a second here. And it was portrayed as this closed-minded individual. How could he say this? Look what, she's a healthcare professional. Plus, how could you tell a woman what to do with her body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm extremely confused that people are going after this guy. And I can only think to myself, what is happening? I saw people in the street. I recorded it and put it on Facebook. I used to tell people, that you're saying this recorded, right? I can't tell you the amount of times people were talking about just killing these kids with these disabilities. This was something people said to me on a normal. It was something people used as an argument. Whenever I would talk about the fact that there's no gestational limits in Colorado, you can abort a child up to the 9th month, people always used to say to me, oh, that's only in extreme cases, fetal anomaly, they used to say. Fetal anomaly. And I'd say, what fetal anomaly? And they'd always talk about Down syndrome. I said, wow. You guys realize that you are articulating Nazi ideology when you say this? Just killing these kids because of fetal anomaly? Of course, there's nothing about Down syndrome that warrants the death of a 9-month-old. There's no malady that an abortion could fix and a C-section could not. But they're really expensive, though. So I'm confused. I'm very, very confused that people are going after this couple. This couple, this content creator, made a calculated decision to make this part of his content, and it backfired on him. And it might be a good sign that America possibly has overnight changed our feelings on the value of human life. Perhaps seeing all these Israelis just wantonly destroy people and kill, particularly children, with zero care. Perhaps we're now dealing with the ramifications of what all that means. I don't know. I can tell you this, though. I could tell you this. In 2017, CBS did an expose on Iceland. And what happened was, when the Icelandians got amniotic technology, it's generally what happened is when you go to decide. I've had seven kids. When you go to figure out whether or not you're gonna have a boy or a girl, you know, that around like the 5-month mark. They can also tell you, they take the amniotic fluid and they test it, and they can tell you whether or not your child has Down syndrome. And if your child comes back with Down syndrome, they ask you what you want to do. Well, in Iceland, when they got that tech, 90% of the women decided they were going to kill the child. So in Iceland currently, they're averaging about 2 births a year of Down syndrome kids. So this guy completely miscalculated how people were going to respond. I have no idea why people are responding this way. We've been like this since, 1973? We've been killing kids for this since 1973 in this country. So I'm glad, but I don't understand where the anger's coming from with everybody else. Here's what I'll say. A lot of times when we have these discussions, one of the things that really bothers me is the fact that we are not thinking about how this lands in the mind of a child with Down syndrome. We're making all these statements. Iceland is making all these statements with their actions, and we're not thinking about, hey, how is this action going to get interpreted, or how is what we're saying about these kids going to get interpreted by people with Down syndrome? We ever thought about that? How would you feel if there was a national conversation about whether or not you should be able to live or die because you would be too much of a burden to your parents? There's no greater rejection than to be rejected by your parent, right? Call out to your parent, have them not respond to you. There's no greater pain than that, right? Can you imagine what message we're telling people with Down syndrome? You're just a burden to get rid of? I got a rule. My kids ask me hard questions. I'm not going to lie to them. I'm going to tell them the hard truth, or I'll tell them I'm not going to answer that question. So here's my thing, Down syndrome people. Are you a burden to your parents? Yeah, you are. Because I don't lie. You're a burden. But let me tell you something, Mr. Down syndrome person. If I was walking up the mountain to my little village, okay, and I had a bag, and my bag was filled with gold bars, right? Would those gold bars be a burden as I'm walking up the hill? Yeah. And I would also be the richest guy in the village once I got to the top. You Down syndrome people, I got a kid who's got a disability. It's not Down syndrome. But I gotta tell you, it makes his life a living hell. And sometimes, even as a believer, I say, God, you gave this kid a bad hand. Because he doesn't have a lot of support. And he doesn't have a lot of understanding. Yeah, man, it's hard to carry people sometimes. They're burdensome, but in my life, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him. I am not going to shoot a video and judge the hell out of these people for killing that child. I'm not going to judge them. They've been judged a million times over by people who don't know them. The other reason I'm not going to judge them is because they're already judged. There's nothing worse in the world than losing your child. I got 7 of them. You hear me? I got 7. And if I lost one of them, you wouldn't want to be around. These people destroyed their own lives and they don't know it. God wanted to make them rich. God wanted to give them a bag of gold. And they said, nah, too heavy, get rid of it. They're already judged. God said, I'm going to give you one of the most beautiful, beautiful little spirits. I'm going to loan her to you. And you threw her away, man. Man, I ain't judging you, bro. And I ain't judging your wife, man. You judged yourself already, bro. You judged already, man. You're poor already, man. Nah, I ain't gonna judge you, man. God help you. You won the lottery and you set the ticket on fire. If you are a person with a disability and you know you've been a burden to the people around you, it's because God wanted to make the people around you rich by you. And if they don't recognize that about you and they abandon you, don't pray for God to judge them. Don't pray for God to judge them. Because God's already judged them. The action itself is the judgment. And by the way, if you've been a disabled person that got a bad hand, don't spend too much time feeling sorry for yourself. Because obviously in the world you're in, ain't going to be a lot of people who feel sorry for you. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Listen, even in your disabled state, we're so messed up as human beings that even from your disabled, weakened state, you still sinned against people and hurt people yourself. Oh man, help us, Jesus. So don't spend too much time feeling sorry for yourself, because then you're going to get bitter at all the able people that overlooked you. Don't be a bitter person. We are a people who have lost our way. We are right-wing people who call ourselves pro-life and support the absolute massacre and destruction of people in Palestine and Iran and Lebanon. We don't care. My tax dollars went to bombing and killing little girls in Iran. I didn't even know they taught girls school in Iran. That's how, brainwashed I was, and I'm a pretty informed individual. None of us are pro-life, man. I'm not going to judge this guy. I got no judgments for him. We should pray for him and his wife. we should repent in the way we treat the burdens that God has given us. I spend a lot of time these days not really judging people's actions, but trying to understand why they do them and trying to see what I would do if I was them. Now, I know what I would do if I was them because me and my girl have talked about it. And it got so bad one time that when we were pregnant with our third, we were like, man, I kind of hope it's a Downs kid, because we were so honestly just wounded by the things that we were hearing people say. People were saying some of the most cruel stuff ever about these kids, man. The capacity that we have for cruelty towards children that we're supposed to love. Man, we're in a lot of trouble. Jesus, we are in a lot of trouble, man. Help these people. Help them. Give them another child quickly. Forgive all their sins and send people into their life that won't judge them but won't compromise. I know you're telling me that they're having a what have I done? Be gracious to them. Be gracious to them. Send people that will love them into the truth, God. They literally have thousands of people telling them that they're wrong. And thank you for doing that. Don't let them be overcome by the discouragement and the shame. Put that man, give him power to lead her well. Just help us. All the disabled people in this country, whether it's a mental or physical malady, emotional malady, God, I pray that you would just encourage everybody. Don't let them fall into self-pity. Don't let them do that. But don't let them believe what our world is telling them about their value. Don't let them believe that. God, help us to value life. Human life. Help us to value it. Forgive me for all of all the times I dishonored you by dishonoring your image. All the many murders I've committed in my heart. The gallons of blood. You've been gracious to me. I have no room to judge anyone. So, show him 4% of the grace you showed me. Because if you do, he's going to love you forever. And you know all things. You know that I love you. And you also know that I only love you because you love me. And you also know that my love for you is up and down. It's like an EKG. It's warm but you've been consistent. So love him like that, so that he can love you. It's going to be a good story. I know that all of this is going to be a good story when it's over. I know that. So help them. And please make sure they're part of the story. And please do not let death and killing be the last word in this particular story. God, pray you inspire people to pray for these people. Give them another child quickly, God, please. These people did this in front of all of us, God. You can't leave this story to end this way. I pray this isn't the last of this story, and I pray that all the people who are hypocritically judging these people, God, that you would bring them under conviction. You were more innocent than the child that they killed. So that if they believe in you, they could stand before God innocent and receive the child that they killed. That's the story. And that's what I'm going to believe for that family. And you ought to too. So, anyway, God bless you. God bless those two. Love the burdens in your life. Love the burdens in your life. All right. Love your neighbor. Take care of each other.